Hey guys, I just want to let you know that I am now a certified spiritual life coach. If you resonate with the topics and lessons that my guests and I discuss on my podcast, and you feel that you could use some empowerment and direction in your journey of becoming who you truly are, consider booking a free discovery call with me on my website at kindlemccullough.com. And now on to the episode. Hey guys, today I'm excited. I have my friend Amber Tumbleson with me. She's a color therapist, and we've known each other for a while now, and we've had a lot of great conversations, spirituality, psychology. We also have our cat here. He wants to be in the podcast for those who can see the clips. Thanks for coming on, Amber.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, so today Amber's going to talk about her color therapy as well as sound therapy. Do you want to give a little introduction more about yourself and kind of how you got to where you are and what you're interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. I would say that I became interested in color probably about 8 years ago whenever I was on my yogic path and learned a lot about color through being exposed through like the chakra system and things like that. And then throughout the years, I've been an artist. I've been painting my entire life. So that was something that helped me personally have an encounter and experience with the healing power of colors. And so I started practicing color therapy last June. And so my friend's Vanessa Kassler, she's a licensed care social worker here in Lubbock, and she just really got me out of my comfort zone. And it's been really awesome.
Yeah. So about the chakras, for anybody who don't know, each chakra is a color. So it's also associated with colors. And of course, there's lots of different things associated with each chakra. So that helps bring more meaning to color or specific things. So that's one thing. And then also you're an artist and you paint and draw, and then you also do epoxy. So,
yes.
You can see how all of that connects. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And for those who are unaware of what the chakras represent, so it's really neat to see how in Eastern perspectives that it starts with the color red and really just moves up the rainbow. Now, as someone who deep dives into the subject, there's actually thousands of chakras, but we just primarily focus on the main 7. And so within the community that we're in, however, a lot of people are unaware or maybe intimidated by the chakra system or the Eastern perspectives. And so I've also studied biblically how colors show up and color psychology, as well as the approach scientifically. So Dr. Edwin Babbitt wrote this book in the late 1800s of color therapy in the sense of using colored lights to heal cancer, to heal tumors, to heal physical ailments as well. But yeah, just a full circle, even kind of where the chakra system started out, it's each color represents an age within 7-year increments. And so it's been really interesting to see the common thread between my clients who love a certain color and have either a hatred towards another color or even a disassociation towards a certain color. And through just uncovering stories based on a color and how they feel around a color, it actually mirrors exactly where the trauma was in their life or where the, health was in their life, where the abundance is.
Yeah, super interesting. I can see how you can also use like psychological stages of development and make that connection. But I just love your journey of looking into all the different fields and how they understand color and finding the similarities and differences. That's also how my brain works. And I love to look at different fields and find the connections and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you want to dive in kind of more about what color therapy is and how it works and how it's helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you actually Google color therapy, you are not going to find what I do. I will say that I have a strong faith and connection. I pray to the Holy Spirit and the Holy Trinity. And so that's what works for me. And it's been interesting to see how these mysteries come through me per session. And so whenever I have my initial session with, say, a new client who's interested, I send out an intake form. And this intake form is not like anything you've ever done with a medical doctor. It's more so what is your sleep like? Are you getting enough water? What I actually have not asked about what you eat in a day, but I think I'm going to add that to the list. What is your favorite color and what is your least favorite color? And then also I do get permission from the client to explore what clothes they wear, what food they eat, what their exercise is like, pretty much a whole body approach to an individual, because color is integrated in every part of our life. And something that I've noticed within my own self and my own journey, whenever I go through, like sadness or grief or things like that, I gravitate towards brown foods. And there's not much color on my plate during those seasons. And it's very interesting because brown is just a derivative of orange. And orange is all about like expression and sensuality and passion. But whenever we're feeling opposite, we will be gravitated towards things that just kind of silence that excitement. So the first session is just assessing all of that and then seeing if the client is a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for the client, because, as adults, we don't really know what relationships are for us until we actually get to meet each other and see, okay, does this feel right or does this feel off? And rather than trying to take it personal, it's like sometimes things feel off and that's okay. And we just go our separate ways. And sometimes when things feel on, it's like, okay, I have something to learn from this person or they have something to teach me, right? It's a reciprocation. And then from there, we end up setting up doing like 8 weeks or just one-off sessions. And so the intention behind 8 weeks is so we have the first week to focus on building relationship, and then the next 7 weeks to focus on each primary color. I've had that idea, and then each session, it's been fascinating to see how God works and how just things come up and are just healed throughout session to session.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that you have like a program and idea and a structure, and also like the intake form is very focused on grounded actions and your habits and stuff like that, so you can assess what they need. And of course, I love the idea of making sure you're the right fit, because sometimes it's not about like you're not skilled enough for this client. It's just like, are you the right fit? Are you aligned, and do you resonate with each other? Do you connect? And do you have are you the person for them to help them the best, to help them thrive? And I think it's it's just really great. But also, like you said, we find that, as therapists or coaches or whoever, when you work with the clients, it's about balance, I think, and balancing like a structure or a system or a program, but also uniquely tailoring it for each client depending on where they're at and where their journey takes them. And so allowing the flexibility to go with wherever they need the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's been really cool to like see it unfold too. Cause in my own experience, let's see, I want to say it was in 2017 where I actually did this is whenever I've experienced color firsthand and how it can actually like activate growth. But I did a chakra series during that time, and red and yellow like were the ugliest paintings, in my opinion, that I had ever painted in my life. And I was so annoyed and frustrated with those colors. Every other color I made, like, to me, it was a masterpiece. Like, I love the painting. It's just like, yes, this is it. And those two colors, I was like, I'm so done. And I just wanted to give up and throw in the towel. But of course I couldn't, thank God. But it was just like that frustration. And so I'm like, okay, in my experience, anything that I'm frustrated with, it's like an opportunity to question deeper. It's like an opportunity to become more curious, because if I'm either frustrated with it, afraid of it, judgmental or critical, there's something to learn. And one of my best friends actually calls me a perspective pusher. And I think that's just because like I've challenged my own perspectives in so many ways throughout the last decade of my life that I do encourage people to do that. So the work with me isn't always easy, but it will challenge you into growth. And whenever I did those paintings, after the red one took me 3 times to redo it. And whenever I say like these weren't tiny 5x7 paintings, they were like 4 foot by 3 foot. Like they were massive. So to redo them was so very annoying. So I had to learn that, I grew up in a lot of trauma. I know a lot of us have our stories, but and there's no one I think we all have our own experiences with trauma and difficulties in life, and they're all equally valid, right? No matter how one may perceive, oh, that was way worse than what I went through, but it doesn't matter. Like it affects us all the same, right? And so 0 to 7, I just was, born into a family that one was a drug dealer, one was a drug addict, and we lived in hotels. One of our houses that we had got robbed whenever I was 5, and all my Barney things got stolen. And so a lot of these things that you don't realize impact you as you get older. And then when you get older, you're like, wait, why am I like reacting in this way? And it's like, oh, it's because like I've, had this childhood that imprinted my memory in a very just unhealthy way. And so working with red really helped me to like restore my stability and foundation of who I am. Red is also like the color of blood. And in a Christian perspective, we see the blood of Christ as purifying us. And so there's that duality as well. And then with yellow, I realized like I used to have a lot of insecurity, shame, doubt, primarily because family wasn't there to encourage me and be emotionally available. And it's no judgment. It's just an opportunity to grow into that. And so I think color invites us in a non-judgmental way, in a non-critical way, that whenever we see it, it's like, oh, and then once we associate the ages with that color, it's like, okay, I can see during this stage of life where I could use a little bit of nurturing to heal.
Yeah, that's super fascinating, really interesting. And, I think it's great to recognize childhood things and traumas and how they shaped us, impacted us, and that actually can help us have empathy for ourselves and why am I the way I am right now, and how can I address that to heal and grow. What came to mind about color therapy is just I think I was reading something when Carla Young was saying something about like how the inner psyche is, so symbols and imagery and feelings, all the things that's beyond logical words and the way we think and operate in our daily lives. So it goes deeper and it really connects to our deeper selves. And so I think color therapy is a way to connect deeper than words and really get into that emotion and the symbols and the core of things.
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, because color is, and that's why I ended up going into sound as well, because it's frequency healing. That's what I've been getting in prayer. The Holy Spirit keeps telling me that the future of healing is through frequency. And so I'm like, okay, well then what is frequency and exploring that. And the only reason that we can actually see color is because it's a reflection of the light. When there is no light, it's just darkness. And according to scientists, there's actually no such thing as black. It's just without light. But of course, our human brains need to identify it, right? So we're like, oh, that's that, or that's that. But once you get out of that identification state, I heard something recently by the philosopher Alan Watts, and he describes that a leaf is not green. And if you see that a leaf is green, then you're not really seeing the leaf at all. And that was just profound and beautiful because yes, there's whenever light hits a leaf, it reflects. And so the leaf is giving green.
Right. It's like, I heard it's like every other color but green.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's beautiful. And so, but in order for us to really grasp that concept, we have to start small. It's like, we're just learning how to crawl. We're just learning how to walk. Right. And so it helps to like make things very like clear of like, oh, green represents unconditional love, but on one side. And so another thing that I would like to mention is that each color has duality. So the only reason we can see color is because we're in physical form and there's duality on this planet, right? We just have to accept that. Of course, the goal is to be neutral throughout our journey, but we have highs and lows, light and dark, all these things. But rather than seeing certain emotions as positive or negative, so sometimes we can be arrogant and just overly positive and overly confident, or we can be on the flip side of that and be very self-condemning and very self-critical and self-judgmental. And so the feeling of those emotions is either light or dense. And in a way, like the light typically I describe the light emotions as like joy, bliss, happiness, peace. So typically our goal is to gravitate more towards the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But since we live in a dual plane, it's actually okay to have both and colors represent that in the sense of green, for example. The light qualities of green are unconditional love, growth, fertility, abundance, when you think of just like springtime and everything blooming. And then the dense qualities of green are envy, jealousy, greed, disgust, if we want to make it inside out too.
Yeah, that's how I was like thinking.
Yeah, so it's really cool to see like, oh, okay, because sometimes, and two, I actually ask in the intake form, how long has this been your favorite color? And how long has this been your least favorite color? Because sometimes in childhood, we are like, oh, my favorite color is this. And then we would get older and we're like, oh, that color sucks. I can't stand it. You know, we end up having that like change. And it's like, huh. And some of us have the common thread of loving that same color our entire lives. So there's just color is so subjective. And back to the point on frequency, sound as well is subjective. We all hear differently. We all feel differently. And that's the beauty of these healing modalities, because words sometimes fall short of our communication. And especially whenever we're triggered, we say things that are so far out, that are so not accurate to who we are today. But like the 8-year-old version of us starts to speak. And then later on, you're like, oh man, like I did not mean for it to come out like that. And then we go into that condemnation. But instead of healing through verbal, like telling the stories again and expressing through words, what would healing look like if we did it through these neutral, subjective things such as color and sound?
Yeah. Super interesting. Say more about like, I know you just said, but like frequency and how is that getting like to the core of things and how would you say that?
Oh, that's a good question. Feeling is the first word that comes to me on that. So it's like getting into our feeling place. And so I really value like the somatics approach to healing. And that's something that I learned during my Kundalini yoga experiences, being fully embodied in the body. And I think sometimes we disassociate with our body, and our purpose is to consecrate the body. And so that's something that Jesus like reveals to us through the consecration of his body. And as Christians, we're to receive like his body and blood, and it's consecrated. It's not like an actual.
What do you mean by consecrated?
Consecrated is making something sacred or pure. So that's the definition of consecration. And so we're meant to be in our bodies. We're not meant to like leave our bodies.
Right.
That's okay. Okay. So here's the thing. In natural law, think of nature, think of everything that you've ever seen. At what point do you ever see a body leave the spirit?
You don't.
Exactly. Yeah. So we see the spirit leave the body, but we never see the body leave the spirit. And I think it's kind of dangerous in a way where a lot of us want to escape our bodies because we've been in so much pain. We've endured so much like things that are not of God at all, even in religious ways that are like, that's not it. So what's the solution that we come up with in our logical mind? Leave the body. I'm good. I'm out, you know, but the call is to really come into the body and feel the pain, feel, you know, like it's pretty morbid, but like, imagine how Jesus felt when the nails went through his hands and went through his feet. Like he endured that pain. So if he can do it, we can do it.
Right.
Especially when we're not even getting crucified that pain, like physically painfully anymore, you know, but we've all gone through pain. So to like embody that suffering and to feel it, I think color and sound doesn't allow us to escape those feelings. It keeps us in our body.
Us embody more than escape.
Yeah. And because we are frequency, the only reason that we're here is because we're radiating a frequency. I'd have to dive into that more. I'm not educated on that. So if someone listening is, feel free to message me and educate me a little bit. But I know that we all can see with our eyes, and even people who are colorblind, they're still benefiting from the frequency, from the wavelength, even if they're not seeing the exact color.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't like, you know, it's still the same measurements.
Right.
So, and then the same thing with sound as well. Whenever you hear sound, especially in like just pure tones and notes, In my own personal experience, the first time I ever actually experienced a gong bath, I just started crying. Just tears started rolling down my cheeks, and I had no idea why. Didn't have a story. My mind was completely blank and empty, but I was just crying. And that's a beautiful place to be. But it can be very scary and very unknown. So a lot of my clients don't like the color black. And I just notice it's because we have this fear of the unknown and we want to be able to be like, oh, I'm crying because A, B, C. But sometimes we don't need A, B, or C. We just need to release and surrender.
Right. We don't need a logical story or like why this is here. It just is. So if we connect with that, we can release it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Gong baths are pretty awesome. I've experienced some, and I can definitely feel like the energy increase and remind me of my own awakening and that movement and energy which fosters healing. Yeah.
And according to traditional Chinese medicine, there's a lot of emotions associated with certain organs. And so sound also correlates with the chakra system, also correlates with like different organs in the body. And so like the note of C, for example, is associated with the root. And for those who are just, for those who don't even subscribe to that perspective, it's just associated with being grounded. So I do have a lot of clients where I don't even mention the chakra system at all. But even according to color psychology and according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all these different psychologists, it's still the common thread of these colors representing certain stages of growth. So love and belonging, for example, is at the base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that is represented by the color red. It's like our groundedness, our stability. And the note C is all about that area of the body. And so if anyone's ever having lower back pain, like put a note C over it and just see what happens and doing it consistently too. I think we live in a culture where convenience is killing us. I actually heard in a sermon yesterday, the question was, how is convenience killing your patience? And it's just so profound because we're so used to like, well, I just want a quick fix.
Right.
But it took, according to the Bible, it took 7 days, I believe, for the earth to be created. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. Like a whole week, right? It wasn't just like ready. And so I think we just get addicted to convenience. And if we really want true healing, we have to be willing to do the work and be courageous of like, working through things. It takes 66 days to build a habit as well. So it just takes time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times we'll go for the quick adrenaline or instant gratification, which, seems like it fills us, but it's kind of like fast food. Like it tastes good in the moment, but it's ultimately harmful in the long run instead of like long-term contentment or
Yeah, that's good. And for some reason, as you mentioned that, I just immediately think of like, okay, where did this start, this instant gratification thing? And of course, I think it's been quite some time of its building, but I just saw how everyone's so attached to their devices and even color therapy is utilized in that. I've actually, some of the homework assignments I give my clients is get off your phone 2 hours before bed. That one never goes over well.
Yeah, right.
They're like, oh, okay. But a lot of people that I talk to and that I meet actually have attention issues. And the Holy Spirit, because it's like not even in my own knowledge, but I just kind of receive from the Holy Spirit, it's blue light. So it's excessive blue. And so that's where it's really important, even looking at things from a healing perspective through color, that we just see like you can be in one extreme or the other. And it's like how to find that balance. And so even with blue light actually is healthy for us. However, too much of it is detrimental. Right. So how can we find that balance? And do you really want that? Because a lot of people, when they're resistant to the homework, I'm like, okay, then you truly don't want to let go of that habit. I think there's just some resistances that people have a hard time letting go of. And I can only say that because I've been there. And so it's like, okay, well, in due time.
Right. Yeah. I think we need time to like build the muscle of trust and safety to because change is scary and it feels unsafe, but we can slowly be like, oh, this change is healthy and safe. Then we can slowly accept it and then go into it. But yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think, too, with, like the amount of time where you spend inside versus outside, and how does that affect or the relationship between those two?
Yeah. Good point. So whenever we're outside, that automatically balances our parasympathetic nervous system. So that's our fight or flight in our nervous system. And so when we're outside, that just automatically balances within our DNA. It's fascinating how quickly our bodies respond to being outdoors. Whenever we are indoors, it kind of mutes our ability to see more clearly. And so, I'm going to end up telling a little bit about my rough part of my story that I was not sure we're going to get into that, but I was admitted to a mental hospital in 2019, and I was there for about 4 days for the first stint. And then during that time, it's equivalent to prison. I've never been to prison, but I would describe it as prison because there are very small windows. You're stuck indoors 90% of the time. The mirrors are fogged up, so you can't even actually see your reflection. You think you're going blind because no one actually tells you these things. But yeah, so your vision is really distorted on what actually is reality. And so you get if the weather is nice, you get a 30-minute window to play outside. It's very unusual. And so, but through that experience, I'm grateful that I went through it, because I've never been in a situation where everything was gray. Everything was just white and sterile, and just sterile is the best way I can describe it. And so when I got out of that place, everything, and I don't have the best vision. I'll be very honest. I probably need to wear glasses, and I never will. But I've done good for this far in my life. So there we are. But whenever I came out and seeing trees and seeing even the bricks on buildings were just a rich, vibrant red. And the trees were just rich, luscious, and all these variations of green and yellow and browns. And it was so wealthy is the best way I can describe it. And so whenever it comes to being indoors versus being in nature, for thousands of years, our species has been outdoors. Us just being in between these walls is such a new thing. And then all the toxins that come from drywall, from the fiberglass insulation, from latex paint. We're just doped up on all kinds of things. And so for the person to actually choose to wake up fully during this time, it's not an easy task. But being outdoors can really, that's actually one of the meditations I have my clients do is whenever you're feeling upset, just go outside and stare at a blade of grass. Sit down and stare at a blade of grass. And you have to pick up, pluck a blade of grass and just stare at it. Give yourself a full 5 minutes to look at this blade of grass, and then tell me how you feel afterwards. It gives love. It gives these things, and whenever we're inside walls, there's times where I just imagine I wonder if the construction worker who built this place was in a good place, or if he was just cussing up a storm, angry that he had to do the work, and it's whenever trees grow, it's just neutral. It just grows. And so I hope that answers your question.
No, that's great. I think it was something interesting you said about I think when you have hard times and then you appreciate nature or things that are healthy or healing so much more, it becomes so much more alive, so much more rich. It's it's your body craves it more, probably because you've been through such a hard time, and so you need that even more. And so then you realize how healing, how amazing it is. Where other times in your life you're just kind of going about your day and not embracing it fully.
We get entitled. We get really entitled. And I just think of my ancestors sometimes, whoever they may be, but I can just only imagine that I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but when you walk in a grocery store, do you ever realize wow, I did not have to climb up a tree to get this fruit from it.
Right.
I didn't even have to water the tree. Like, we are so entitled to so many things, and our ancestors had to like strategically place out how they were going to get food for the day. And so we get so lost in the gift of life because of the conveniences and the just access we have to so many things. And so I think it's beautiful how if we focus on those small things again, like something as simple as color and as mundane as like, you know, we write off color even. We're like, oh, cool. Okay. You know, and just move on about our day. But when we start to like dive deeper into these things, it's like, it just, I think it opens us up to more gratitude. And like gratitude really can come from a place of not being like, of being so entitled. I see gratitude on the opposite scale of entitlement.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing too interesting about nature versus like inside buildings or human made things is color is so much more diverse or complex. You know, it's not just like a white wall or a black wall. It's not, it's like, it's so mixed. It's so many different colors or, you know, and I think that makes a difference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there aren't really, I mean, there are, I'm thinking of like, okay, what's the most plain thing, but thinking of white sands in New Mexico, I mean, it's white sand as far as I can see. But if you pick up a pile of that sand, there's not just one grain of sand that looks identical in color to the other grain of sand. There's so much variation. And I think as humans, we tend to compare ourselves to other people. We tend to be like, oh, well, they're doing better than I'm doing. We have this like, that's the best way I can describe it. We tend to compare a lot, and in nature that doesn't take place. Nature is just so unconditionally accepting, and it's so unique. Like I just look at that in trees, and whenever it's so funny how we have grass that we mow. I just don't understand that concept whatsoever. Like, why do we have grass that we cut? Like, don't even have grass then if you're just going to cut it, you know, like what's the purpose? Let it grow wild. And when it grows wild, there's variations, there's imbalances. Some are shorter, some are taller, and that's beauty. But we've been programmed to think, oh no, that's inappropriate. We need it all the same. We need to have it straight across, square, you know, and
it's like we need more wild and also less like dualistic, like opposite or so orderly, you know. It's like nature's not so, it is orderly, but it's more complex and seems more chaotic than the world we're trying to like cultivate in this unnatural way. And so like our brain and our body, I think like what's healthy is more the way nature is.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, because even with painting, so in some of my sessions too, it varies session by session, whether we use acrylic painting, alcohol ink painting, or guided meditations. So sometimes clients really benefit from me just walking them through a guided meditation. Sometimes they benefit from the other two modalities of painting. And I don't do art therapy. I do color therapy. And so the primary difference between the two is you actually have to have a degree in art therapy. Color therapy just requires a certification. So that's the legalistic differences. But also art therapy includes more just like creative projects, arts and crafts. And that's just not my jive. I've always been a painter, and that's the extent of my creativity. I don't like doing other things. So that, and then just being outdoors has been like a big teacher for me. So then, yeah, depending on with like my clients, sometimes whenever we paint, it's like, you know, some want tape to paint with to have perfectly straight lines. And some people just want to like put colors on the canvas and just move and be like in the canvas and just be interactive with it. And it's beautiful to witness how each person is different on how they want to communicate their emotions.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It's just like a portal, a window to the soul and what's going on internally. And, you know, a lot of people have a hard time connecting with that or understanding that, articulating it, but they can do it in this, you know, more natural way, it's like a better language to what's going on inside than trying to put it in more logical words. And then you can be like, oh, this means this and this, and help them connect with that more logical side. And make sense of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as a client-centered therapist, I actually have the clients share with me first what they perceive. Because at the end of the day, my knowledge doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is what is the relationship that you had as you were painting that, and what's a relationship that you had even with the silence. So a lot of people don't value silence.
Yeah.
And so as someone who has mastered that, I feel that I do like just it's like I'm not even in the room during the time they're painting. So it's just them, God within them, and the color. And so it's beautiful to hear what someone gets out of that. And then I'll be like, then I'll actually ask, would you like my input? And then if it's yes, cool. If not, cool. We'll keep it moving. So it's just really cool to see. I don't know. We're all so beautifully, uniquely made. And my intention is to highlight that out of someone rather than impose. You know, I don't believe in people idolizing doctors. I don't believe in people idolizing therapists. I think that there's a lot of false idolization in this industry. And so I'm really intentional on ensuring that doesn't happen.
Right. It's like, what's their interpretation of their understanding of themselves, and not you imposing yours and them believing that that's what the truth is of who they are. And it's like, who knows themselves more than they do, you know?
Yeah.
So you're a conduit to help them understand themselves more, not to interpret who they are.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about like the silence and being there and just being invisible, just like we're talking about black, even the silence is not a nothingness. It's holding space for them to be like, it's okay to do this, you know, and to just fully dive in. Like someone else is there and they're encouraging me in this silently. And so they can get more into it than if they were on their own, be like, this is dumb.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's baby steps once again of just being held in that. And it's interesting because I was just talking to my best friend about this morning, but black is the color in the womb. We've all been in the womb. We were there most of us were there for 9 months. Some a little sooner, some a little later, but it's dark. It is black. It is without light. And why are we so scared of that?
Right. It's like the opportunity it's the gestation period, you know, it's the building of the unseen to then blossom forth and then to add color and all that stuff. But without the black in the first place, none of that would be possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so cool to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. My brother just had a baby, so cool connection there.
Yeah. And then whenever we're out of the womb, we actually don't get eyesight until like sometime later.
Right. So we're like cultivating all the other senses.
Yeah. Eyesight's one of the last ones that come in.
Wow.
So that's where even in Montessori teachings and these different approaches to early childhood development, they use very like simple colors and just shapes because that's all that the eye can make out during that time.
Wow.
So
yeah, it's fascinating. So how do you use sound and utilize that?
Yeah. So with sound, really, I just pray beforehand and asking the Holy Spirit what sound is needed in this moment. And then from there, I just go from there. So as of right now, I've been primarily working with C. And so just getting really comfortable in that note. But the way it would look in a session is just praying and receiving what is necessary in this moment. And then, of course, asking the client, is there a specific sound that's coming to you right now? That's something that, you know, will just kind of unfold over time. But it's through crystal singing bowls. So I chose those because it is a more modern way of getting an accurate sound. And it creates like this really ethereal resonance. And it's just, I'm able to feel it in my body. So if I can feel it, I'm like, I want to share this with other people, you know? And
I always find it interesting, like, are they going to feel this, or how do they feel it differently, or, you know?
Yeah. And so far people have been really receptive. So that's been amazing, but there's a couple different approaches. So I have one-on-one sound sessions where it's just a 45-minute guided sound meditation, and it's just like a deep dive. So that one's really good for people who just want to like go into deep relaxation. Maybe they have struggle sleeping well. Maybe they have a lot of anxiety. So this will kind of help just like help them feel safe and having a calm nervous system. So there's that approach. And then I also do sound soaks, which essentially it's a sound bath, but I'm just coining this new term because I'm like, that's fun. So yeah, of course. So a sound soak is where it's actually a group effort. And so we actually I lead a whole group in just going into different sounds and melodies for the same amount of time, 45 minutes to an hour. And then there's also just sitting in sound where it's just me playing the sound and then I'm completely silent, not doing any guided anything, just allowing that person to explore their own psyche. So awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's power in groups, and the frequency can increase, and you can get even more out of it.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. So, I like how you said that in groups, there's like higher frequency and there's also higher release of trauma. So the way that I actually have learned is that when setting up a room is I ensure that everyone's feet is facing outwards away from each other. So it's kind of like in a circular formation, because we release energy through the bottoms of our feet. And so if someone is if we're all laying in a room where we're in a horizontal rows, the whatever is being released from the person and the row behind you is coming right into your head and going right. It's just a domino effect. And so people sometimes will feel like dysregulated or they'll feel off. And it's like, well, why did that happen? And just the flow of energy is kind of, you're just picking up everyone else's stuff. So I'm really intentional on making sure that everyone's feet is facing outward. So that way it's like a clear receiving and clear release.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so since we've been talking about sound bowls and stuff, wouldn't it be cool to play a little bit right now for the audience?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Wow. That's amazing. It's crazy, like how gentle you're doing that and how loud it is. And just like, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it like, it's like a pressure. It's a force. So I think a lot of times when we hear music, we just think we're hearing it, but like with this, you can feel the force of it. Oh, it is frequency. Oh, there's something to it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like when we hear music on the radio, that's like the lowest hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this bowl is tuned to 432 hertz. And then there's different bowls that you can get that are tuned to certain hertz, which is like that higher frequency.
And a lot of times they're associated with the different chakras as well. Like I think 432 is associated with the heart, if I'm correct.
I don't have that memorized. Okay. So yeah, but I just know it's more so like root. So groundedness for the note C, but I haven't quite memorized the hertz yet. So yeah,
it's really cool. I think that's another thing that I've like noticed is like the radio is so much limited in the frequency band and what the focus is. And so I don't listen to radio a lot. Even like, Air One or something like that, like it's positive, but even that is so limited. And I feel like you have to really be intentional to go find music that has that variety or even the high hertz and stuff like that.
Yeah. The analogy that came to me as you were sharing that is tap water versus alkaline water. So it's like, you can drink tap water. It's questionable, but you'll get hydrated probably.
Well, it's just like we were talking about inside versus outside. Like, do you want a few colors or solid, or do you want like more nature, diversity, complexity, nuance, all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And once we become comfortable with like these like simple things, then we feel comfortable with the complexities, so it's kind of just like that dance. But yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me today. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed our time. So.
Yeah, it's been really great. I really enjoyed the conversation. Love all your insight and wisdom and what you have to share. And definitely, I guess I can, on the show notes, I'll put like your contact info for people to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be the best way to reach me is on Instagram primarily is the platform that I utilize. So if anyone wants to work with me, they can contact me through there. My link is in my bio as well. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.